Friends, today I will tell you a special story that will leave you completely astonished. So, let's begin. The scene I witnessed today truly startled me. A man was sitting with a goat held by the neck, surrounded by a crowd of people. I am the village midwife. I have delivered babies for more than half of the women in this village, and they all trust me deeply. But when Maulvi Osman came to me, I was quite surprised. He said, "Auntie, you will have to come with me today. I need you." I replied, "How could you possibly need me? There's nothing that could happen at your place since your wife is barren." The Maulvi responded, No, I do need you, but not for my wife. I need you for Bano." I asked him, "Has Bano's time come to give birth?" He replied, "Yes, Bano is about to give birth. Please come quickly." I said, "All right, I'm coming." When I arrived, it wasn't a difficult task. I just needed to help deliver the baby of a goat. Maulvi Osman loved his goat dearly and had named her Bano. He was obsessed with her, taking great care of her and even making special clothes for her during the winter. The goat even had a room of her own. The villagers knew well how much the Maulvi cherished his goat, as if his very soul was attached to her. He would often say, "Since I brought this goat, my fortunes have improved." The goat was indeed beautiful, tall and white, unlike any other I had seen. The Maulvi had taken such good care of her that she had grown very tall. I sat beside the goat, knowing there wasn't much work for me to do. But after a while, the sight that unfolded left me absolutely stunned. I exclaimed, "How is this possible, Osman? You must find out who is behind this." Maulvi Osman himself was shocked, speechless, unable to comprehend what had happened. But when he found out who was behind it, he too was devastated, as if the ground beneath his feet had disappeared and the sky had fallen on him. Maulvi Osman could no longer face himself because this was not the doing of just one person. Friends, what was behind this act? To find out the full story, watch the video till the end. But before we begin, let's take a moment to pray. Oh Allah, protect us from all sins. Ameen. Please also write Ameen in the comments and give this video a like. And for those who are new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon. Now let's get to the main event. Friends, people often say that the desire for a child isn't just something women feel. Many men too long to be fathers. Maulvi Osman was one of them. The midwife said, "I was there when he was born. His mother was a wonderful woman, though she's no longer alive. His wife is very calm and quiet, never going out or talking to others. The reason for this is that she is barren and will never be able to have children. She used to come to me for medicine because I was the village midwife, but I had told her there was no hope for a child and advised her to go to the city to see the doctors who had advanced treatments. Maybe they could help her have a baby. She would say, 'You know we are poor people, and Osman will never take me to the city. We don't have the money for that.' And so, the days passed. One day, Maulvi Osman showed up with a young goat, as if it were his own child. He named her Bano and cared for her as if she were his baby. Even the goat grew up alongside me, and soon she started giving milk. I, being an old woman, would often say, 'Save some milk for me,' and he would do just that. But today, seeing his situation made my heart ache. Maulvi Osman was sitting, holding his head as if what was happening was unfolding with his wife or daughter. That morning when I woke up, Maulvi Osman was knocking on my door, saying his goat was about to give birth. I told him, "Your goat lives alone, so how could she give birth?" He said, "I don't know, but Auntie, you need to come with me." At first I thought it might be something else, but no, a child couldn't be born in his house since his wife was barren. She didn't even like him, saying her parents had forced her into the marriage. She was a good woman at heart, but her visits became less frequent, likely because, in a village like ours, being barren is considered a grave offense. Maulvi Osman led me into a room he had made for Bano. The goat looked sickly and I told him, "Look, this isn't my job, but since the village vet left, I'll help you as best I can." I sat down beside the goat, placed my hookah next to me, and prepared for what was to come. But little did I know that I was about to witness the most astonishing event of my life. I told him to go outside, and I began smoking my hookah. But a little while later I heard the cry of a human baby, and I was startled. I thought to myself, where is this sound coming from? Am I imagining things? I've delivered so many babies in my life that it often feels like I hear baby cries everywhere. But when I looked around, I was completely shocked. Despite Bano still being sick, there was a newborn baby lying on the grass next to her, crying loudly. I noticed that Bano's belly had shrunk significantly. The moment I saw that, my head started spinning. I gasped in astonishment and said, "How is this possible?" But there was no mistaking it. A human baby was lying next to the goat. I wrapped the baby in my shawl and took it into my arms. When I came outside, Maulvi Osman's wife and another woman from the village were standing there, possibly to get some milk. They were frozen in place, staring at the sight before them. Maulvi's wife exclaimed, "Auntie, what is that you're holding?" I replied, "Are you mad? Can't you see? It's a baby." She said, "A baby? How can there be a baby? You were inside with Bano." I said, "I don't know how to explain where the baby came from, but you need to take care of it immediately or it might get sick." Maulvi's wife quickly approached, took the baby in her arms and said, "Give it to me. I'll take care of it." She rushed back inside with the baby. When Maulvi Osman saw this, he asked, "How is Bano doing?" I said, "Bano is fine, but something else isn't, and you can't fix it." He asked, "What happened?" I replied, "Your Bano gave birth." He responded, "Oh, how's the baby?" I said, "A human baby was born, you fool." Upon hearing this, Maulvi Osman was shocked. He said, "A human baby? How could that be, Auntie? I woke you up from sleep, so it's not like you're still dreaming. Are you joking with me?" I said, "Do I seem like I'm joking? Go inside and see for yourself what's in your wife's arms." He immediately ran inside and I followed. We saw that his wife had wrapped the baby in cloth and laid it on the bed. She had asked the other woman to fetch some milk and a bottle from her house, as she had recently had a baby. The woman returned with the milk and bottle and they began feeding the baby. The baby was perfectly healthy. I have a good eye. I can tell when a baby is unwell. This baby, however, drank the milk and peacefully went to sleep. But now, the peace of the household was gone. Maulvi Osman sat down on the ground and began slapping his forehead, saying, "What kind of world is this? How did this happen? I don't understand anything." He looked at me asking, "Are you all playing a prank on me?" I replied, "How could we be playing a prank? You should be asking how this even happened. This goat was yours, it stayed with you all the time, and you were the one taking care of it." He said, "I never thought my goat could have a baby. Even if it did, it should have been a baby goat, not a human baby. How is this even possible?" Maulvi's wife was behaving oddly, and she was holding the baby close to her chest, not saying a word, and wasn't surprised at all by what had happened. We were all in shock, yet she didn't seem to be. Normally, a woman who is childless longs for a baby, but every time I asked her about it, she would say she didn't care whether she had a child or not. Yet now, she was holding this baby as if her life depended on it. I asked her, "Shama, why are you so quiet? Say something." She responded, "What should I say? My words don't matter. He brought the goat, and he was the one always running after it. I don't know whom I should suspect." Maulvi Osman angrily grabbed a glass nearby and smashed it on the ground, yelling, "Are you suspecting me?" She replied, "No, I'm not suspecting you. But you tell me, how could this have happened? This is not how nature works. Whoever did this has committed a grave sin." The Maulvi then asked, "What are we going to do with this baby now?" Before I could answer, Shama spoke up, "This baby will stay with me. Allah didn't give us a child, so consider this one our own. I've asked you so many times and we've fought over this, but you never listened to me. Now this baby has come to our door. We will raise it ourselves." Men have a lot of patience, but when the situation turns against them, they often go silent. Maulvi Osman did the same. He fell silent and walked away. Shama began to cry, saying, "Look, Auntie, I've asked him so many times to adopt a child. It's been 10 years since our marriage. By now other people's children are already grown up. He didn't take me to a doctor or the city. He never paid attention to me, always focusing on the goat. I told him we should adopt a child, but he told me that children of lower class people were not good enough for us." I consoled her, saying, You should have adopted a child if you could. But that doesn't explain how this baby came into the world like this, Shama. Shama replied, Auntie, that's not the point. I have a sister, Nazia. Allah has blessed her with many children. She had triplets and then twins, and she was ready to give me one of her babies. But Osman said they were from a lower family and refused. Now look at what has happened. Perhaps it's my curse that has brought this upon him. I said, Shama, how can you say such a thing? Your curse wasn't meant for this, was it? Shama replied, all I wanted was a baby, and I got one. I don't care how this baby came into the world or who the father is. I will raise this child as my own. The midwife continued. After that, I returned home. Maulvi Osman's mother was a dear friend of mine, so they often called me Auntie or Kala. As evening approached, Osman came to my house looking very distressed. He said, Kala, I have some bad news. I asked, what is it? He said, Bano has passed away, I just buried her. I replied, I'm so sorry for Bano, it must be heartbreaking. He began to sob uncontrollably, saying, my goat is gone. And now this strange thing has happened to me. What will happen when the whole village hears about it? I don't know what to do. Should I run away from here? And if I do, should I take the baby with me? I told him, look, the baby is not at fault. Your wife doesn't have any children, and she will take good care of this baby. Life is already halfway over for us, and maybe Allah has sent this baby to you in this way. He responded, no, I can't just let it go like this. I need to find out who did this to my goat. Whoever is responsible has committed a grave sin, and this child is the fruit of that sin. We didn't commit any sin. I told him, I have a feeling that there's more to this story. This baby might be your wife's, but not yours. He exclaimed, what are you saying, Auntie? You can't just make such accusations without evidence. I replied, the evidence is in how she's holding the baby. She's clinging to it as if it's her own, and she won't let anyone take it away from her. Such affection is only seen in mothers who have given birth to their children. Her love for the baby has only grown since it came into her arms. Doesn't this seem strange to you? She hasn't said a word, hasn't expressed shock, hasn't questioned anything. She's just holding the baby tightly and caring for it. Maulvi Osman said, I don't know if that's strange or not, but if she were really pregnant, how could I not have known? I replied, your wife is a frail woman. If she were pregnant, neither you nor anyone in your family would have noticed. And remember, you were away for a while at the Tablighi Jamaat, weren't you? You only returned a few days ago. Maulvi Osman nodded and said, yes, you're right. I was away at Tablighi, and I'd just returned a couple of days ago. I said, I think this baby is at least 4 or 5 days old, not just born today. He asked, if this really happened, why did my goat have to die? I replied, maybe to cover up the story. Forget about Bano, she's gone now, but you should investigate whether this baby is really your wife's. He asked, how can I find out? I said, you don't need to do anything. I'll figure it out, but it will take some time. I believe Shama is lying. This baby is hers, and she has had it with another man. She's now making up a story to hide the truth. You know, sometimes women can't conceive with their husbands, but when they marry another man, they have children. The same can happen with men. Sometimes they have children with one wife but not the other, or they have only daughters with one and sons with another. This happens often in our society. I was determined to find out the truth, so I decided to examine Shama secretly. I'm an expert at detecting pregnancies just by looking at a woman. I sat next to Shama and said, you don't have much experience with babies, so I'm here to help you. Is the baby okay? She replied, of course the baby is fine. Then she started to say something but stopped herself. She wanted to say that the baby was safe in its mother's arms. I said, why don't you let me hold the baby for a moment while you go make me a cup of tea? I wanted to see if there was anything unusual about the way she moved. Maulvi Osman wasn't home at that time. He had gone to investigate what had happened and was questioning the people in the village. He was determined to find out the truth behind the incident. Meanwhile, I carefully observed Shamma's movements. She didn't appear to be someone who had just given birth. She was walking normally, but still, what if something truly miraculous had happened that we were dismissing as impossible? Sometimes nature works in mysterious ways to show its displeasure with us, and humans don't understand it. When someone tries to explain such things, people often dismiss them as lies or fairy tales. But if Allah wills it, anything can happen. I once knew a woman who gave birth to a child so unusual that everyone who saw it ran away screaming. The baby was so strange that even I was frightened when I saw it. But I gathered the courage to lift the baby and lay it on the mother's chest. My hands were trembling, and the mother was crying, saying that this was her punishment for mistreating her dying mother-in-law. She used to curse her, insult her, and never took care of her, and now she believed she was being punished for that. The baby didn't live long, but after that the woman completely changed. She became a good person, took care of her husband, and began helping the people of the village. She even left the village to start anew. Shamma was taking good care of the baby, and the baby seemed perfectly healthy, peacefully sleeping. I returned home. Shortly after, a young girl came to me and said, "Auntie, do you know Salma's daughter? She's very sick, please come quickly." I replied, Yes, I'll be right there." I thought perhaps she was calling me because Salma's daughter was about to give birth, but I knew who she was referring to. Salma had a daughter named Liba, a beautiful young girl who was well known throughout the village for her beauty. When I entered the house, I saw that Liba was lying in bed with a high fever. I asked Salma what had happened. She said, "Liba went to her uncle's house a few days ago and returned 4 days ago. Since then, she's locked herself in her room, hasn't eaten or spoken to anyone, and now she's running a very high fever." When I looked at Liba's face, I knew immediately what had happened. I asked everyone to leave the room, telling them, "She's a young girl, and I can't question her in front of you all." Once we were alone, I sat next to Liba and asked, "What's the matter, my dear?" As I reached out to touch her, she grabbed my hand and pleaded, "Auntie, please just save me. Go outside and tell everyone that everything is fine." I asked, "Why? What happened?" She then showed me something that confirmed my suspicions. I asked her, "Where is your baby?" Liba replied, "I gave it to Shamma." I asked, "What is your connection to Shamma?" She said, "Shamma is my childhood friend." I asked her, "Who is the father of the baby?" She replied, "Whoever the father is, I had no lawful relationship with him. He was an officer working at the factory they're building in our village. He was very handsome, and I fell in love with him. He left about 10 months ago. I told only Shamma about my pregnancy. She was the only one who knew that I was going to have a baby. After a few months, I made an excuse to go to my uncle's house. You know, my uncle is blind, and his daughter isn't very bright, so it was easy to hide the pregnancy from her. Shamma told me to return, and she would help me with the rest. When I brought the baby to Bano, you were asleep after smoking your hookah, and that's why you didn't realize what had happened. I had often fallen asleep after smoking my hookah in the past, but that day I didn't even realize when I had dozed off. Liba begged me, saying, "Auntie, I helped my friend and she helped me. Please just go outside and tell everyone I have a fever. Give me some medicine so I can recover. Whatever was supposed to happen to me has already happened. I couldn't take care of the baby, but Shamma can." Hearing this, I was left speechless. What could I say to these two foolish girls? Was this an example of their stupidity, or the test of their friendship that they were helping each other in such a dire situation? No wonder Shamma had said, "Why would the baby cry? It's in the arms of its auntie." Liba was more than a sister to her. I told her, "What's done is done. I'll remain quiet only because the baby is now with a mother, and your family's honor will be preserved. Otherwise, I would have told everyone." I went outside and told the family that Liba had a fever and needed bed rest for a few days to recover. I also told them not to ask her too many questions. Meanwhile, I convinced Mulvi Osman that no matter how the baby came into the world, it was now his child, and he had to take care of it. Maybe Allah had chosen him for this test, and if he passed, everything would be fine. I managed to calm him down and didn't mention any of this to Shama. But surprisingly, ever since the baby arrived, Maulvi Osman's fortunes had started to improve. His wealth was increasing, and now he even took the baby out with him, holding it like his own child. He loved the baby dearly, and Shama was also content now. As for Leba, no one ever found out about her secret. The villagers never knew about the shameful act she had committed. Perhaps she was lucky that her secret was kept, but it was a huge step that she had taken. May Allah guide her to the right path. Thank you for watching the video. Please share your thoughts in the comments section, and don't